Just give me a minute, 1 minute. Let me just plug in my earphones. Get some water to drink. Going. Okay, can you hear me now? Am I audible? Where did we stop last time? Oh, 1793. Okay. Also not introduction. Oh, okay, am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu, you are audible, but the voice is low, Prabhu.
Voice is low. Why is my voice low? Jack my headphones. There's something you can do about this. Second. Hare Krishna Rama. Volume is maximum. You can try with this. I don't know what else to do right now. Okay. Where are they? To up down. Okay, 1.7.93 onwards. Vande Rupa Sanatanau, Rajvigav, Shri Jiva Gopalakau, Stuvata Brahmanottam Yad, Vriddha Vakyam Natan Vrisha, Tesham Pratyupakareham Ashakto to Maharini. The praise offered by the Venerable Brahma was not spoken in vain. I can never fully repay these devotees, and so I am utterly indebted to them. Krishna is all-powerful Supreme Lord. At his command are boundless energies, ready to fulfill his every desire. But he cannot repay his debt of gratitude to his devotees in Sri Vrindavan. Sri Vrindavan. Nathan Goswami has noted, Prajajananam pratyupakaram kartum aham parameshwaropya shaktaha. Even though I am the Supreme Lord, I cannot repay my debt to the residents of Braja. Thus, he constantly looks for small favors he can do for them as tokens of his affection. As Brahma stated, while praising Krishna's super excellence. Tesham Ghoshan Nivasinam Bhagavan Kim Deva Rati Nash Cheto Vishwa Phalat Phalam Tvadaparam Kutrapyayan Mukhyati Sadveshadi Vaputanapi Sakula Pameva Deva Pita Yadhamar Sukrit Priyatmatanaya Pranashayaspakrite. My mind becomes bewildered, just trying to think of what rewards other than you could be found anywhere. You are the embodiment of all benedictions, which you shower upon these residents of the cowherd community of Vrindavan. You have already arranged to give yourself to Putana and her family members in exchange for disguising herself as a devotee. So what is left for you to give these devotees of Vrindavan, whose homes, wealth, friends, bodies, children, dear friends, and dear relations, and very lives and hearts are all dedicated only to you? Sanatana Goswami has noted. The purport of this verse will be elaborated upon later on. Yadi cha pritaye tesham tatra yami vasami cha tathapi kimapi swasthyam bhavyam nalochayamyah. But even if for their pleasure I were to return to live with them, I don't see how that would help. Madikshana deva vigarth bhavo dayena labdha vikala vimoham. That daihi kam kinchanate nadeham vidur nachatmanam aho kimanyat. Just by seeing me, they become so dazed and bewildered by ecstasies from deep within that they fail to recognize their own bodies and everything that has to do with their bodies, what to speak of the rest of the world. As soon as the devotees of Braja see Krishna's beauty, their prema transforms into intense ecstasy, manifest in their bodies as trembling, perspiring, and other sattvic symptoms. These devotees then enter a trance of bewilderment, losing external consciousness. The most exceptional trance, Vishishtam Moham. The Supreme Person reveals himself in full with his attributes and associates. This state therefore lies far beyond the partial realization of the truth attained by impersonalists in their ordinary samadhi, with its artificial background of voidness. Tatu samadhivat sarva shunyata padanat apakrishtam. It's of the superior variety. The masculine pronoun they here indicates all the Vrajavasis, both male and female. Or else Krishna is really talking only about his female devotees, young gopis, but avoids using the feminine pronoun taha, because in the present company, he does not want to talk about them openly. In either case, when the Vrajavasis see him, they forget their own bodies and everything connected with them, family, social position, responsibilities, and so on. They forget whatever plans they may have had for success in this life and the next. Therefore, since the Vrajavasis, upon seeing Krishna again, would lose all contact with reality, Krishna sees no hope of restoring them to health by returning. His going back to them would only make their condition worse. Text 96. Drishte Pishamye Maitanna Dukkham Vichhed Chinta Kulitatmanam Vai Harshayatesham Kriyate Vidhiryo Dukkham Sasadyo Viguni Karoti. So their pain won't be relieved even if they see me. Their hearts will be so disturbed by thoughts of separation from me that whatever measures I take for their happiness will only double their grief. In their trance of separation, the devotees of Braja are aware of nothing but Krishna. Their ecstasy is so deep that as a natural effect of remembering Krishna, they see him physically before them. Other pure devotees whose love for Krishna is not on the same level of perfection have separate experiences of him internally and externally. Dhruva, for example, concentrated his mind on Lord Vishnu in deep meditation, but his internal vision of the Lord did not expand into a vision outside like that of the gopis. Only when Lord Vishnu came to Dhruva to offer him special mercy did the Lord disappear from Dhruva's heart to show himself externally, as described in the fourth canto of the Bhagavatam. Savai dhya yoga vipakati vraya hrit padma koshe spuritam tadit prabham tirohitam sahasaiva pallakshya bahistitam tadavastham tadarsha. The form of the Lord, which was brilliant like lightning, and on which Dhruva Maharaj in his mature yogic process was fully absorbed in meditation, all of a sudden disappeared. Thus Dhruva was perturbed and his meditation broke. But as soon as he opened his eyes, he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally present, just as he had been seeing the Lord in his heart. In other words, Dhruva Maharaj had not attained the status of Prema Bhakti. Ataeva Isha Prema Bhava Shri Dhruvasya Shri Bhagavad Dhyana Vishta Chetasopi Sakshat Bahir Vartaman Shri Bhagavad Darshanam Navrittam. Dhruva Maharaj, by the time he saw the Supreme, before he saw the Supreme Lord, had not come to the point of Prema. Whereas these Brajavasis, they are very deep in Prema. Love for the Supreme Lord reveals the Supreme Lord. That is the basic point. The full vision of Krishna's beauty relished by the Vrajavasis is the ultimate fruit of spiritual perfection. One might suggest, therefore, that if Krishna were to present himself once more before the Vrajavasis, their condition would certainly improve. This might be true, but to recover from the intense pain of separation would take time. And the Vrajavasis, thinking Krishna might leave them again, might relapse into their trance of separation. Therefore, Krishna thinks that returning to them would only cast them deeper into suffering. The painful anxiety of separation from Krishna put the Atmas of the Vrajavasis, meaning their hearts, their bodies, and the very essence of their being, into turmoil. When a person has not eaten for a long time, The vital elements of his body are depleted, so that even after obtaining food, he takes time to recover. He does not recover simply by having food placed before him. He has to eat, and in a manner that does not make him sicker. Then he has to wait for the nourishment to be distributed in his body. Similarly, Krishna thinks, the Vrajavasis will not recover just by seeing me. They will have to enjoy pastimes with me, and not only for a short time, but as long as needed to fulfill their desires. I fear this will prove impossible. Since I have too many other things to take care of elsewhere, I'm incapable of curing them. Even if Krishna's concern were unfounded, if he were to treat their disease of separation by returning to them, he would remain susceptible to agitation, thinking he might leave them again. They would remain susceptible to agitation, thinking he might leave them again. Their anxiety, being an essential part of their very existence, cannot be cured even by his personal darshan. As Krishna indicates by the word why, he knows this from his own experience with the devotees of Vrindavan. And so also with the devotees he is speaking to in Dwaraka. As Shukadeva Goswami relates in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the last chapter of the 10th canto, after Krishna's queens enjoyed water sports with Krishna, the queens mourned. Kurari Vilapasi Tvam Vita Nidrana Sheshe Swapiti Jagati Ratyam Ishvaro Gupta Bodha Vayamiva Sakhi Kachil Gadha Nirbhinna Cheta Nalin Nayana Haso Darali Lekshitena. O Kurari bird, at night you are lamenting. Somewhere in this world, the Supreme Lord is asleep in a hidden place. But you are wide awake, O friend, unable to fall asleep. Is it that you, like us, have had your heart pierced to the core by the munificent, playful, smiling glances of the lotus-eyed Lord? While speaking these words, Krishna's queens were not actually separated from him. This is called Prema Vaichitya. Thus they say, Ratriyam Ishvara, referring to the night as different from the present moment. In fact, they were speaking during the day and had just finished playing with Krishna in the water. Introducing these sports, Shukadev had said, Uchur Mukandaika Dhyo, Gira Unmattava Jadam, Chintayan Thyo Ravindaksham, Tanime Gadatashunam. The queens then became stunned in ecstatic trance, their minds absorbed in Krishna alone. Thinking of their lotus-eyed Lord, they spoke as if insane. Please hear their words from me as I relate them. Thus the queens, whose only object of attention was Krishna, were momentarily speechless and trance. When their thoughts of Krishna impelled them to speak, they spoke slowly, as if recovering from mental imbalance. From their words, it is evident that Krishna's queens were foreseeing the pain of separation even while enjoying with them. Shukadeva Goswami chose to end his narration of the 10th canto on this note of especially intense sweetness. Madhurena Samapaye. Krishna may be the omniscient Supreme Lord and the most expert arranger of all things to satisfy his devotees. But these very special devotees, the devotees in Braja, he feels unable to help. Tesham, there. Now again, refer either to the Vrajavasis in general or else only to the gopis. His sentiments expressed in this verse are betting in either case. Any attempt to make the Vrajavasis happy will quickly make everything go wrong. Just as water thrown on an oil fire makes the fire explode and go out of control. Thus Krishna faces a dilemma. On one hand, the Vrajavasis do not know how they can survive in separation from Krishna. On the other hand, even if he stays with them a long time, they will inevitably worry that at any moment he might leave them again. As this most exquisite agony of Viraha Bhava rises in their hearts, it will only worsen their grief. Krishna reasons that just as there is no way to remove the natural quality of fire, no, natural quality of heat that he imparted to the element fire at the time of creation, there is no way that anyone, even he himself, could withdraw the ecstatic nature of the Vrajavasis imparted to them by his unique mercy. This state of affairs is the greatest glory of the residents of Vraja. Of course, the devotees of Krishna and Vraja feel special ecstasy when they join with him directly in the spontaneous pastimes found nowhere else. Nonetheless, the special pure love born of separation from him rises within them most of the time. The Vrajavasis are the special recipients of super excellent Viraha Bhav, which is his greatest mercy, Parama Mahattama, Mahatva, Parama Mahatva, because it is filled with the highest special happiness, carried to its ultimate extreme. Although everyone in this world lives in separation from Krishna, only the Vrajavasis fully experience Viraha Bhava. Their special ecstasy of separation from Krishna is obtained only by special mercy and only after very intimate association with him. Krishna feels very grateful for the transcendental love of his gopis and his other beloved devotees in Vrindavan. So he cannot bear to see the disastrous effects of their Viraha Bhava. He therefore cannot return to live in Vrindavan again or even pay a short visit. Krishna tells why he married his queens. Adrishyamane cha mayi pradipta vyogavahner vikala kadachit mrita ivonmada hatah kadachit vichitra bhavam madhuram bhajante. And when they cannot see me, they become so torn that the fire of separation leaves them sometimes as though dead and sometimes as though insane. Thus they partake of the nectar of wonderful ecstasies. In this verse, Krishna defends himself against the accusation that he is ungrateful to have abandoned the residents of Vraja. What the Vrajavasis feel because of Krishna's absence is a concentrated agony similar to the burning heat of fire. They lose control of their wits and sometimes seem on the verge of death, showing no external signs of life. At other times, they seem afflicted by madness. But Krishna explains that these are all signs of the highest devotional ecstasy. Kamistra kunjadi yadeva kinchi madiya varno pamamikshiyate tai sachumbanam tat parirabhyate madhya param tattva no varnaniyam. If they see a patch of darkness resembling my complexion, they embrace and kiss it, mistaking it for me. What more can I describe? When the devotees of Vrindavan, especially the young gopis, see a shadow or a dark place that reminds them of Krishna's spotless dark blue complexion, they think that Krishna is standing before them. What else they do besides trying to kiss and embrace the shadow, Krishna would rather not describe, because some of his hearers might be unqualified to understand and others might be plunged into dark and distress. Even if he were to return to his devotees in Vrindavan and grace them with his presence, he would be powerless to soothe and enliven them. And even in his absence, the Vrajavasis sometimes enjoy his presence on their own by picturing spiritual images of him within their minds. So Krishna feels he cannot do anything to change their situation and must remain an insolvent debtor, as he previously described. He should not be called ungrateful because the circumstances render him helpless. अतएव मया स्वस्य स्थितिं मत्यस्तिते समां दृष्ट्वा न गम्यते तत्र शृण्वर्थं युष्मदुपहे. Therefore, my staying with them would be equal to my absence. Realizing this, I am not returned there. Now, here's the real reason I married you. whether Krishna shows himself to his dearmost devotees or remains unseen to them, they will be torn by the ecstasies of separation, and he will suffer the frustration of being unable to help them. Such is the apparent misery of Krishna and his devotees. But there's another level of this transcendental reality, unseen to ordinary eyes. Krishna lives eternally in Vrindavan in his invisible, aprakata manifestation, endlessly continuing to bestow the enjoyment of his pastimes. In some confidential pastimes, he returns to Vrindavan from Dwaraka in his aprakata form. Thus, at the same time that the devotees of Vrindavan suffer separation from Krishna's prakata manifestation, they continue to enjoy forever the manifestation in which his pastimes are aprakata. Some subtle hints of this have already been spoken by Krishna. I can never fully repay these devotees, and so I am utterly indebted to them. Just by seeing me, they become so dazed and bewildered by ecstasies from deep within. And whatever measures I take for their happiness will only double their grief. Elsewhere, the evidence for Krishna secretly returning to Mathura Mandal is more concrete. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the citizens of Dwaraka mention Krishna's trips to Hastinapur and Mathura Mandal. And the ladies of Hastinapur, referring to Krishna's perpetual presence in Mathura, speak in the present tense. Present tense. Aho alam shlaghya tamam yado phalam, aho alam punyat tamam madhur vanam, yadesha pumsam rishabah priya shriya, swajanmana chankramanayana chanchati. Oh, how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, where the supreme leader of all living beings, the husband of the goddess of fortune, is marking the land by his birth and his wanderings. Here, it is marking the land by his birth and his wanderings. Present tense. The women of Mathura city also talk about Krishna's being present still in Braja. Punyavata Brajabhu Yadayam Nrilinga Gudha Purana Purusho Vanachitra Malya Gahpalayan Sahabala Panayam Shavenu Vikridayan Chati Giritra Ramarchitan. How pious are the tracts of land in Braja? For there, the primeval personality of God, disguising himself with human traits, wanders about, present tense, enacting his many pastimes, adorned with wonderfully variegated flower garlands. His feet worshipped by Lord Shiva and the goddess Rama. He vibrates his flute, present tense, as he tends the cows in the company of Balaram. In other words, these things are continuously happening, In the Uttarakhanda of Sripada Purana, Lord Shiva relates to his wife in an even more explicit account of Krishna's returning to Vraja and remaining there permanently. And in the second part of this Bhagavatamrita, the glories of Gauranga, the conclusion will demonstrate that Lord Krishna always resides in Gokula. Nevertheless, Krishna has chosen not to divulge to Sri Satyabhama and his other queens that he returned to Gokula. Hearing about this would distress them, and he cannot tolerate seeing his devotees distressed. No, straight as it is from now. The commentary. Now, next he begins to talk about why actually he married all of them. Tasama bhave purvam me vasato mathurapure vivaha karane kache ichhapyasim namanini. My dear proud lady, when living in Mathurapuri without the gopis, I at first had no desire to marry. Krishna is now less hesitant to mention to his queens the gopis of Vraja, since the queens have already been drawn to thinking about them. In this verse, therefore, he dares to use the feminine construction. Tasam abhave, in the absence of those women, in the absence of those ladies, in the absence of those gopis. but he still refrains from mentioning the names of Sri Radhika and the other gopis. So that reason, Tamevahat Asamiti Shadbhi, that reason why he married them is dealt with from the current verse. Actually, in 6 verses beginning with the current verse. Mat anaptya turukmunya vanchantya pranamochanam Shrutvasya Vipravadana Arti Vidyapti Patrikam. But from the mouth of a Brahmana, I heard Rukmini's letter, which told of her distress and her intention to commit suicide if she could not obtain me. In response to what Krishna has just said, someone might wonder why he was so eager to kidnap the daughter of Bhishmaka and make her his wife. Here Krishna answers that Rukmini was absolutely intent on his marrying her. As she said in her letter, Yasyankri Pankaja Rajas Napanam Mahanto Vanchantuma Patirivat Mattamopahatyai Yarhyambu Jakshana Labheya Bhavat Prasadam Jakyam Asun Vratakrisha Shatajanma Bhisyat. O Lotus Advan, great souls like Lord Shiva hanker to bathe the dust of your lotus feet and thereby destroy their ignorance. If I cannot obtain your mercy, I become so weak from the severe penances I shall perform that I shall simply give up my life. Then after hundreds of lifetimes of endeavor, I may obtain your mercy. In this letter, she frankly revealed to Krishna the distress being caused her by Cupid. Shukva Gunan Bhuvan Sundara Shinvatamte Nirvishya Karna Vivarai Haratonga Tapam Rupam Drisham Drishimatam Mahilarthalabham Tvai Achyuta Vishati Chittam Apatrapam Me. O beauty of the worlds, I have heard of your qualities which enter the ears and remove the bodily distress of those who hear. And I have heard of your beauty which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see. Oh, thus, O Krishna, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you. So in 7 verses, she had submitted her distress to Lord Krishna. Ityadi Saptashlokya Nivedana. Yasyam Patrikayam Tam Viprasya Rukmini Preshita Purohita Putrasya Vadanakshutva Madagya Tenaiva Tat Patrika Vachana. So she had sent through the son of a priest, of her priest, this letter. And upon hearing this, he understood that he had to take care of the situation. Confronted with such a determined plea, Krishna could not refuse. Rukmini is present with the other devotees listening to Krishna's explanation. And if need be, she can verify the truth of his testimony. Mahadushtan Nrapashveni Darpam Samharatamaya Panim Grihita Sangrame Kritva Ragyam Prapashyatam. So I destroyed the pride of a host of wicked kings in battle, took her hand, and carried her off as all the kings watched. Rasandra, Shishupal, Rukmini, and Krishna's other rivals were fortunate to have had their pride crushed by Krishna at the Swayamvara of Princess Rukmini. After easily defeating the armed opposition of Rukmini and his friends, Krishna took Rukmini on his chariot from Kundinapur to Dwaraka, where he married her. Krishna here claims that he did what the moment demanded and was not pursuing the pleasure of his heart. Krishna describes his happiness in Vraja. Asya sandarshanat tasam adhikyena smritir bhavat mahashokarti janakat parama kulatam agam. But the sight of Rukmini made me think back on the gopis all the more, and the sorrow and distress this caused me made me very much disturbed. Living in Dwaraka, Krishna had been trying to forget his beloved gopis, but Rukmini's beauty resembled theirs, rekindling within him the fire of Viraha Bhava. Shodachanam Sahasranam Sa Shatanam Madaptaye Krita Katyayani Puja Vratanam Gopa Yoshitam Nidarshana Swiyam Kinchit Swasthayitum Manaha Avatyeva Yuyam Vai Maya Traita Vivahita. Some 16,100 gopis had, with vows, worshipped Katyayani to obtain me. To bring my mind somewhat to peace by seeing a likeness of them, I married the same number of you queens here in Dwaraka. Of the young gopis in Braja, 16,000 attained Krishna's intimate association. The Mathura Mahatmya states Tatha Shri Mathura Mahatmya Gopi Tirtha Prasange. In the Mathura Mahatmya section, in the regarding the section known as Gopi Tirtha, this appears. Gopyo Gayanti Sahasrani Shodasha. 16,000 gopis were singing and dancing. The present verse specifies the number of those most fortunate gopis as 16,100, although the word cha implies that there were actually more. The word cha here, which indicates this should be understood to be 16,000 and more gopis were singing and dancing. All the gopis were extremely attracted to Shri Krishna, but only some of them earned Krishna's complete satisfaction by undergoing the Katyayani Vrata to obtain him as their husband. These were the gopis who most zealously wanted Krishna as their own. Srimad Bhagavatam records their prayer. Katyayani Mahamaye Mahayogin Yadhishwari Nanda Gopusutam Devi Patimme Kurate Namaha Iti Mantram Japantyastah Pujam Chakru Kumarika. Each of the young unmarried girls performed her worship while chanting the following mantra. O Goddess Katyayani, great potency of the Lord, O possessor of great mystic power, mighty controller of all, please make the son of Nanda Maharaj my husband. I offer my obeisances unto you. No one can match the gopis' attractive sway over Krishna, but Krishna accepted his queens as substitutes in his pastimes at Dwaraka. The principal queens of Dwaraka are in fact direct expansions of the principal gopis. Aho bhamini janihi sattan mama mahasukham mahimapti samam hitva tastau tatro chitaspade. O willful woman, please understand, all that I relished in Braja gave me the highest pleasure. And though the glory of those times has now abandoned me, it still resides in that most worthy place. By saying this, Krishna admits that he is not as happy in Dwaraka as he was in Vrindavan. He cannot feel fully satisfied when separated from the gopis. Chitrati chitrai ruchirai viharai ananda patho hitaranga magna nagya sisham ratri dinani tani tattan mahamo analoka sanga. When submerged in the waves of that ocean of ecstasy, enjoying the ever fresh charming pastimes of Braja, I was so attracted to each of the all enchanting residents that I never noticed the passing of the nights and days. Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes or Chitrati Chitra, more charming than any other attraction. In fact, Lord Krishna speaks 6 verses beginning with text 107 on this very point. They can attract the mind of everyone in the universe. Thus, the time and place of those pastimes are uniquely sacred, and the spiritual potency of the devotees who take part in Krishna's sports in Sri Nanda Vraja is impossible to measure, for those devotees enchant Lord Krishna himself. Balya Krida Kautuke Naivate Daitya Shrestha Maritan Kali Yoki Dushta Nirdam Ya Shunisaritoso Parno Sabye Dhari Govardhana Sah. As the simple delight of my childhood sports, I killed various eminent demons. I quickly subdued the evil Kaliya and sent him into exile. And in my left hand, I held Govardhan Hill. Someone may suggest that Krishna's childhood must still have been difficult, since he had to struggle with many demons and exert himself to kill each of them. Not at all, Krishna replies. Killing those demons was child's play for me, like a baby's playing with dolls. The friends of Kamsa were not mere human demons like Salva and the others whom Krishna would later meet, but were powerful mystics who could change their forms as they liked. Putana, for example, turned herself into a beautiful woman, although in fact she had a stone hard body that stretched for 12 miles. Krishna in Vrindavan, however, was not an ordinary child. He easily killed demons like Putana, and he playfully brought the fearsome Kaliya under control. Krishna trampled each of Kaliya's many hordes, deprived him of his sovereignty in the land of the Yamuna, and sent him into exile. This was mere child's play for Krishna. And so too was lifting the massive Govardhan with his left hand. For young Krishna, nothing was ever fearful or laborious. He took delight in everything he did. Tadrik santosharnave nimagno yena stotram kurvatam vandanam brahmadinam bhashane darshane manvanogham yasmaram devakrityam. I was so absorbed in that ocean of contentment that having to talk to such demigods as Brahma and watch them offer me prayers and homage seemed a painful disturbance. I forgot the work I had to do for the demigods. Now and again, Kitrasham tat sukham ityapekshayamaha. This verse answers a question that could be asked. What is the nature of that happiness? Now and again, demigods and sages like Indra and Narada had matters to discuss with Krishna. But Krishna considered their visits unwanted distractions from his pastimes with his friends. He didn't even want to think about the promise he had made to the demigods before descending, that he would dispose of evil kings like Kamsa, who were a troublesome burden for the earth. He had forgotten his very mission because of that happiness. Idanim tatratya parama mahimahamaha rupeneti tribhi saundaryena. And the supreme glory of his sports in Vraja, now described in 3 verses in terms of his beauty. 3 verses beginning with text 110. Rupena Veshena Ravamritena Vamshasya Purva Anuditena Vishnu Sammohitam Prema Bharena Kritsnam Tishtantu Dure Rajavasinasti. My beautiful form, my dress, and the Nectarian sound of my flute, never heard before, enchanted the whole universe with overwhelming love of God. So what to speak of how these affected the residents of Braja? Krishna's beauty never diminishes, even when he leaves Vrindavan to reside elsewhere for more than 100 years. Only in nostalgic retrospect does Krishna think he was more beautiful during his youth. And because of Vrindavan's special sweet mood, created by the spontaneous attraction between Krishna and his devotees there, and nowhere else, Krishna feels free to add certain items to his appearance, like the peacock feather in his hair. And only in Vrindavan does Krishna play his flute. Thus enhanced, Krishna's natural charm allures the entire world, creating a transcendental taste that defeats all kinds of material enjoyment and is millions of times more relishable than the impersonal happiness called Brahmananda. Everyone in the universe can taste this highest bliss of Vrindavan by hearing about it from scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam, as presented by pure Vaishnavas. Thus, the supreme bliss of Krishna consciousness is available anywhere. Still, those who can live directly with Krishna in Vrindavan and relish his association not only with their ears, but with all their senses are certainly most fortunate. Learned scholars of the Vedas therefore conclude that the greatest perfection of life is to follow successfully in the footsteps of the Vrajavasis and in course of time be invited to take up residence in the Vrajavasis' eternal soul. Akashayana Vitirudra Shakra Siddha Shashideva Ganathathanye Gavo Vrishavat Ganamrigascha Briksha Khaga Gulmal Latastrinani Nadyothamegha Sachara Kirascha Sachetana Chetanaka Prapancha Prema Pravahotham Vicara Ruddha Swasta Swabhavat Parivritti Mapu Brahma, Rudra, Indra, Chandra, the Siddhas, and other demigods moving in the sky were overcome by changes aroused in them by the current of ecstatic love. So too were the cows, bulls, calves, and wild beasts, the trees, birds, bushes, creepers, and grass. The rivers were overcome, and the clouds, and all other beings, both moving and non-moving, alive and inert. Each of them underwent a transformation by which their own nature changed into a nature just the opposite from the demigods. To the blades of grass. Every living being present in Vrindavan to see Krishna's pastimes became ecstatically transformed. Even non-living objects gained consciousness and underwent these effects of prema bhakti. In the sky above Vrindavan, celestial persons often gathered to watch what was going on, including not only the chief demigods, but also sages, Gandharvas, and Vidyadharas. They and the residents of Rajatha were so powerfully affected by the constant flood of prema that their natures changed. Those who were accustomed to staying in heaven were attracted to come down to the earth. See, now he's beginning to give instances. Brahma and the other prominent demigods, the wisest and most respected authorities in all the fields of knowledge, lost their power of discrimination and became like simple fools. Another instance of change of nature. And the cows and other animals who normally roam the fields seem to achieve samadhi, the culmination of mystic knowledge. Another instance. Those animals stood still like immobile plants, whereas the actual plants, the trees, bushes, and creepers became like animals, trembling and moving about. The lifeless rivers and lakes became as if alive, overflowing with ecstasy. They sometimes stopped their currents completely and sometimes flowed wildly. And in the sky, the wind-blown clouds became fixed in one place, assuming the roles of umbrellas shading Krishna and his devotees from the sun. These wonders are described in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. Vivida gopa charaneshu vidagdho venu vadya urudha nija shiksha tava sutas sati yada dharabimbe datta venu ranayat swarajati savana shastantupadharya suresha shakra sharva parameshti uroga kavaya anata kandhara chitta kashmalam yayura nishchita tattva. O pious Mother Yashoda, your son who is expert in all the arts of herding cows, has invented many new styles of flute playing. When he takes his flute to his timber red lips and sends forth the tones of the harmonic scale in variegated melodies, Brahma, Shiva, Indra, and other chief demigods become confused upon hearing the sound. Although they are the most learned authorities, they cannot ascertain the essence of their music, and thus they bow down their heads and hearts. These verses, meaning these verses, Ityadaya Shloka Anusartavya. These verses should be considered, should be scrutinized. Techasa Vyakhyanam Agre Lekhya. They will be explained in writing later on. Etat Satyam Asatyam Va Kalindi Vrikshatamiyam Yatu Vrajajana Swaira Viharananda Sakshimi. You can ask Kalindi whether or not this is true. She witnessed the blissful pastimes freely enjoyed by the people of Vraja. No one should think that Krishna, out of enthusiastic love for his devotees, is speaking exaggerated praise of them. Queen Kalindi can vouch for the accuracy of what Krishna has said about life in Vrindavan, because she was there in the form of river Yamuna. Sri Yamuna, being the sister of Yamaraj, the king of religion, always speaks the truth. Adhuna tu saeva swajyatrin yavanati netum narhamitam bhavam dharma kreda kutukalai. But I cannot arouse the same emotions even now in my relatives, the Yadavas, either with joking or with entertaining pastimes. What Krishna feels missing outside Vraja is not just the pleasure he enjoyed there. Rather, outside Vraja, he feels less capable of satisfying his devotees. In Dwaraka, he talks intimately and jokes with his wives, friends, and advisors and entertains them with water sports and other pastimes. But outside Vraja, the feelings are never the same. Outside Vraja, he evokes reverence from his devotees. So in his dealings with them, he can never feel the same freedom of expression. The Sanatana Goswami notes, Yati Rapi Ityanena Reha Sambandha Visheshaha Suchitaha. The word Yati is relatives. He's talking about his relatives, in my relatives. This indicates that he is related to them by their bodies. Dushkaram me bahuvat madrisham mana bhanjanam atotram murali tyakta lajjayaivam maya priya. Here in Dwaraka, I have found it difficult to break the jealous prides of queens like you. Embarrassed, I have therefore put aside my dear flute. Krishna's queens behave jealously, but they never become inimical to him in any way or oppose the fulfillment of any of his desires. Therefore, it is not actually difficult for Krishna to control their pride. It is only meant to please him. Nonetheless, Krishna cannot take the same liberties in Dwaraka as in Vrindavan. He says that in Dwaraka, he feels ashamed to play his flute, as if concerned that people will laugh at him. Perhaps closer to the truth, in Dwaraka, he no longer feels the inspiration to create the exquisite music he produced in Vrindavan. How much the Lord's glories are manifest varies according to the environment he is in. Straight from Uddhava changes Krishna's mood. Aho vatamaya tatra kritam yadrik sthitam yatha tadastu kila duretra nirvaktum cha nashakyate. Alas, what I did and how I lived in Vraja, seeing here so far away that with you I cannot even speak of those things. Since Krishna is all powerful and his omnipotence is never diminished by any circumstance, he should be able to take on any appearance and act as he likes in Dwaraka or anywhere else. He should be able to make his life in Dwaraka just as it was in Vrindavan. But Krishna's desires change according to the atmosphere in which he lives. Outside Vraja, he simply feels less inspired to express his sentiments freely. In this verse, therefore, Krishna utters the words Aho Bata, indicating great disappointment. In Dwaraka, he cannot perform the same delightful pastimes of his childhood or surround himself with his beloved gopis and other Vrajavasis. The Dwaraka environment is so foreign to the intimate mood of Vraja that he cannot even discuss with his Dwaraka associates his earlier days in any but the most vague terms. If you were to speak of these matters with the Dwarakavasis too explicitly, the Dwarakavasis would become lost in trance and unable to continue their own service. Ekas samet prajalokavat priyas tadran mahaprema bharaprabha patah Bhakshatyadah kinchana badarayane majjivite shishyavare swasannidhe. Just one person, almost as dear to me as the devotees of Braja, will be able to describe those topics. Shukadev, the son of Badarayana Vyas, by the power of his great love in the mood of the Vrajavasis, he will speak something of those matters to his excellent disciple, who resembles him in spiritual qualities and whom I once brought back to life. If no one ever hears about Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes described, how will Krishna fulfill the main purpose of his descent? To spread throughout the world the transcendental taste of Prema Rasa? Anticipating this question, Krishna answers it here. The glory of the Prema Rasa of Sri Vrajadham will be revealed when Shukadeva Goswami recites Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. Because Shukadev's own devotional realizations closely follow the elevated mood of the Vrajavasis. He has the power to convey the glories of Vraja in the ecstatic Bhagavatam poetry emanating from his lips. Even the brief glimpse of the infinite ocean of Krishna Bhakti Rasa that Shukadeva will reveal in the Bhagavatam will be enough to impart to any human being who hears with honest intent the highest taste of pure devotion. Shukadeva will speak Srimad Bhagavatam to the most suitable hearer, the great Vaishnava Parikshit, whom Krishna returned to life when Parikshit was in the womb of his mother. According to the narration of the Mahabharata, the Brahmastra weapon of Ashwatthama actually killed Uttara's fetus. But Krishna entered Uttara's womb and gave Parikshit a new body. And Parikshit became Krishna Jivita, not only in the sense that Krishna restored him to life, but also because every moment of his life was dedicated to remembering Krishna. He was a perfect Vaishnava like his Guru Shukadeva, and therefore Shukadeva could speak to him the most confidential secrets. By the combined efforts of the most qualified speaker and the most qualified hearer, Srimad Bhagavatam can distribute its sublime light even in this blind age of Kali. Shri Parikshiduacha Etadrisham tad Brajabhagya Vaibhavam Samrambhatah Kirta Yato Mahaprabhu Punastatha Bhavan Nivesha Shankaya Tahve Rita Mantri Parena Sanjaya. Shri Parikshit said, as the Supreme Lord continued ardently praising the splendor of the good fortune of Braja, the expert counselor Uddhava grew anxious, for the special ecstasies of Braja might again draw the Lord into a trance. With a gesture, therefore, he prompted the ladies to do something. Sarva Mahishya Sahasatya Bhamaya Bhaishmyadayo Drak Abhisritya Murthabhi Pado Grihitva Ruditardra Katubhi Samstutya Bhartaram Ashishamam Chanai. Satyabhama, Rukmini, and the other queens at once surrounded their husband, touching his feet with their heads. By offering prayers with plaintive voices, wet with sobs, they gradually calmed him down. The word Samrambhataha, used in text 118, can mean either ardently, furiously, or with passionate absorption. Uddhava saw that Krishna was on the verge of again becoming too agitated by memories of Vrindavan. So lest Krishna begin crying and lose control of himself again, Uddhava made a sign to Satyabhama and the other queens present, to which they responded without hesitation. Because the queens were always reverent towards Krishna, They could pacify him the same way as the gopis of Braja. But in their own ways, they did the best they could. Slowly, they pacified him slowly, gradually. Shanairiti Shigham tat samrambha yanjana ashakyatva. Because they could not give up. They could not make the Supreme Lord give up his mood quickly. Krishna greets Narada and thanks him. Bhojanartham cha tenaiva devaki rohini tatha annapanadi sahite tatra shighram praveshite. Uddhava also urged Devaki and Rohini to come in quickly with the food and drink for Krishna's meal. The most intimate devotees of Krishna know his desires before he expresses them. By having lunch brought in, Uddhava wisely changed the whole mood. Earlier, Devaki had anticipated this need and left for the kitchen. And we can understand that Balram also removed himself from the emotion-charged scene on the pretext of going out for his bath. एवं श्री बलरामोपि अभिज्ञ वरः स्नान व्याजेन स्वगृहं ययौ इति ज्ञेयः. One should understand that Sri Balaram, who is excellent, experienced on the pretext of taking bath, went to his own house. Baladevam Kritasnanam Praveshya Kritina Tada Dvarante Naradas Tishthet Iti Vigyapito Vibhuhu. The expert Uddhava had Baladev come in after finishing his bath. Uddhava then informed Krishna that Narada was standing in the doorway. Sarvantaratmadripraha sasmitam nandanaha adya kena yannayat purvavat. Krishna is the all-knowing seer of everyone's heart. But he asked with a smile, why is he being kept standing there? Why doesn't he come in as usual? Because Krishna already knew the answer to his question, he smiled while asking it. Although Narada had precipitated this entire disturbance by reminding Krishna of Raja, Krishna did not become angry because Krishna is the darling son of Nanda Maharaj. Notice this. Krishna is referred to as Nanda Nandana, the son of Nanda. Krishna cannot be dissatisfied with Narada for glorifying the cowherds of Nanda's pasture. Krishna asked why Narada was waiting at the door, since no one until now had ever impeded Narada's free access to Krishna's palace. Pratyuvachodhvat smitva prabho bhitya pilajjaya tato brahmanya devena swayam mukta praveshya saha. Uddhava smiled and answered, my lord, because he is afraid and embarrassed. Then the Lord, who always favors the Brahmanas, himself brought Narada inside and spoke to him. Uddhava could not control Uddhava could not help smiling when he thought about Narada's curious behavior, his enthusiastic arrival, his uncontrolled symptoms of ecstasy, and his hiding in the sky to watch Krishna visit Navavrindavan. Uddhava told Krishna that Narada was afraid because of the offense he had committed by disturbing Krishna's mind. And when Krishna answered that Narada should never fear him for any reason, Uddhava added that Narada was also embarrassed. Pure devotees are usually shy to reveal their private ecstasies when this might disturb others. This is actually stated by Sanatana Goswami himself. To pacify Narada, Krishna himself therefore went to invite Narada in. Krishna approached the sage with due respect, bowed down to him, took him by the hand, and escorted him into the palace. Okay, let me stop with that. Let me note down. This would be the next. This. 1.7.124. Okay. Any questions? No questions. All right. Let's resume next week. Anshakarupayaścha kripasindu bhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.